Hello, everyone. All right. Yeah, you got a little bit of a super preview right there. Um, get that out of your mind. My name is Reynald Adolphe. I'm an advocate here on the VS Code team, and I'm so excited to be hosting this live stream for our very first ever GitHub Copilot release parties. If I had like a clap machine, I would do it right now. Like, this is really exciting. We've done release parties before, just in general for VS Code, but this time it's going to be focused strictly on new features that came out for GitHub Copilot. So really excited about this. Hey, everyone that's there. We have like YZ there, CloudWorks, Deflux, and Christian. Thanks everyone for joining, including Mert and H. Refnickel. Sorry if I'm butchering up that name, but let's go ahead. We have like a host of several people that's going to be showing up different features. So hang in there and feel free to drop in all your questions while we have like the current presenter on. So let's go ahead and bring up our first presenter, Rob Lourens. Rob, how you doing?
Hey, Reynald, how you doing?
I'm doing great, great. Um, so what do you have in your treasure box of features that you're gonna show us that's related to Copilot?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about agent mode in Copilot edits. This is something that we just released last month, and it's only in insiders right now. So we need to be using VS Code insiders, but it's something that we're really excited about.
Nice, nice. Um, and for those it's the first time hearing Insiders, Insiders is like a version of VS Code that has all these features that has not been released on the final version, the official version of VS Code. So feel free to experiment with that if you want to be on the bleeding edge, I guess they used to say. I'm dating myself with that term.
Exactly. If you want to see kind of what's latest and greatest that we're working on, this updates literally every day, and it's what we're all using to sort of try our own features that we're working on. You can go to code.visualstudio.com/insiders, download the insiders build, and you can use agent mode and other cool things.
Nice.
Yeah, so we released Copilot edits. So just to recap, we have Copilot chat, where you can chat with Copilot and ask it about your code and ask it to do other things. We have the Copilot edits window, where it can edit multiple files automatically. And in the past, in Copilot edits mode, you sort of have to add files automatically, and then Copilot can edit those files. But with the agent, it's actually smart enough to be able to go out and find which files to edit in your code automatically. And it can also run terminal commands and sort of do other things automatically to sort of complete a whole development task. And cool. So I'm just going to jump right into it with like a quick demo. So to kind of, give you the general idea.
Okay.
So I've opened the VS Code repo, which I work on every day. And I'm just going to ask it to sort of, with no context at all, just make the chat response text red. And since this is the VS Code repo, the code that drives our chat features is in this repo. And let's see if it can figure out what I want to do. So it's searched my code base for any relevant files. It knows that this is like a JavaScript TypeScript project, so the styles are probably in CSS. When it does a search, then I can also like click this and see which files it actually found. So I can kind of see, what context it was able to pull in and whether it might be on the right track. And it looks like there are some chat-related CSS files in there that I expect to see.
Okay.
And it found the chat CSS file out of the thousands and thousands of files in this repo. It found the right file. And I can jump down to where it's editing. And yeah, this looks like actually exactly what I was expecting. It just added a style rule that applies to chat responses to make the text red.
Wow, cool.
And so I won't actually try to run it to prove it right now, but you can take my word for it that it did do the right thing. But you can see, besides finding the context and editing the file, it's also checking the file for problems to make sure that it didn't, screw up any linter rules that I have or add some invalid syntax or something like that. And if there had been problems, then it would be able to sort of iterate on that and self-repair and try to fix those problems. But it looks like it was the correct change.
Cool. Now, is there a way to customize it in any way, like how much it will do on its own?
So you can steer it quite a bit just with your prompt, right? Like if
Okay.
you want it to really take over and like spend a lot of time building the whole feature, then what I recommend doing is sort of coming up with a really detailed prompt where you can sort of spell out, I want you to do this and this and this. And you can sort of like develop almost like a spec for the feature you want to build and put that into chat or into the Copilot edits in the agent mode, and it will sort of spin away and run for quite a while and do that. And it's by default it's going to do like it. So every time it comes back with some tool calls and a response, that's like sort of using a request BLM. And by default, it's going to do 15 requests, but you can actually customize that if you search for chat.agent.max requests. So for me, this is 15. If you're on the Copilot free plan, since right now each of these is using a request, then we default it to a lower number. And if you want sort of like a more interactive experience where it comes back to you, more often for you to sort of check that it's on the right track, you could set this to a lower number. If you really want it to go for a really long time and there's a chance it might go off in the wrong direction if you're not paying attention, you could set it to a higher number. I think 15 is a good default though.
We have H Raftnickel. He asks, will agent mode make Copilot edits as it exists today obsolete?
I think that we're trying to bring some of these experiences closer together. We've got sort of like the 3 modes right now: chat, we've got then classic edit mode, and then agent mode. And agent mode right now, it's very experimental. I think that we are trying to bring more like agentic workflows into some of these other experiences too, and I think you'll see some more about that from Joyce later today too.
Okay. We got another question from Utku. He asks, are you guys planning to release DeepSeek R1 model in Copilot edits?
I don't know if we're looking at that one right now. I don't have a good answer.
And one last question here. How many prompts per month in vscode Copilot?
I don't know all the quota numbers for the different levels of Copilot off the top of my head, and I don't want to say anything wrong.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
also that might change, but I would say that was from a 2K. Yeah, 2K. I think if you go to the GitHub main site for Copilot, I think it like mentions it there, and you could get like the latest info there. Cool. Rob, anything else for?
Yeah, so I can share a little more about this. So another thing you can do. So let's say I try a query like this. So in agent mode, it can also run terminal commands. And so again, I didn't give it any context about like how to run the unit test or what that might mean, but it knows that in a node project, you typically have scripts that are defined in package.json, and it was able to find the right command to run. So it's going to suggest npm run test node. And something really important to point out with running terminal commands is that it's never going to run any terminal commands without your permission, right? And so it's showing me which command it's going to run. It kind of gives an explanation of what the command is right here, although it's just sort of restating the thing in this case. And then I have the option to either continue or cancel. And so I'm going to accept running that command, and it's going to open a terminal and run that command. It's going to start running all unit tests, and I'm not actually going to let this finish because we have a whole lot of unit tests. So I'll kill that early. And so it did the right thing here. Anyway, if I can keep, I don't know how much time we have for me. If I can keep going, I can do another demo, or we can.
Yeah, we could probably do one more and then answer one more question.
Yeah. So I wanted to try something kind of brave, which I think the most fun I have with agent mode is when I'm just sort of building an app from scratch. And so I've been doing a lot of things like this, and I'm just going to try getting it to build a weather forecasting app. So I'm asking for app that shows the weather forecast using React with Beats. And this is sort of what I was talking about, just sort of giving it a lot of, if you give it a lot of detail, then it will work for longer, trying to sort of satisfy all the requirements that you described. And we're going to see if this works.
All right.
And while this is running, I can mention a few more things that are important. So, since in agent mode, it's kind of iterating automatically and editing files automatically and, doing these things in an autonomous way. We prevent it from reading or writing any files that are outside of, let's see, I think this is right. They're outside of your workspace. And so we're trying really hard so that it's not going to, sort of run amok all over your hard drive and screw up anything important, right? So it's going to stay contained within the workspace.
Nice.
Terminal commands, like I said, it's really difficult to sort of know whether it's safe to run a terminal command. We are going to look at doing that, like saying that if you know that all the npm scripts in your let's see, you can do that in your workspace are safe. You could automatically maybe allow it to automatically run npm run scripts. But for the time being, it's on you to check over every command that it's going to run and make sure that it's going to be safe.
Okay. We'll grab one question in the meanwhile. By CloudWorks Lab, do you guys use any specific tools for developing agents? Any of the LangChains / graphs / flows?
No, we don't use any like agent framework or anything like that. It's just sort of our own thing that we've built up ourselves. And if people are experimenting with agents, I'd really encourage people, rather than like just jumping into a complex framework like LangChain, but rather to just sort of see how far you can get, just sort of writing scripts to call the LLM yourself, because I think you can get really, really far with an LLM with a fairly simple prompt and a set of tools and just your own code.
Cool. All right.
Okay. Ran into an error on the last request, but I think we should be able to recover from this. So I'm going to keep going. And so you can see, so it's just to summarize it, it sort of scaffolded my my Vite project first. It created my .env file, and I'm going to fill in my real API key in a minute. And it's also just been iterating. It's installed a few packages that it wants to use. It's written a bunch of code. And we're still getting set up though.
One quick question that came up. Meanwhile, is it a good idea to use Copilot edits for code reviews or multiple together?
I don't think I understand the question. Using edits for code reviews, you can you can do that. We also have yeah, I mean, you could ask it to, you can do that in chat also, right? You could give it some files as references and ask it to review the code and like look for problems. And that's a really good scenario for Copilot chat, definitely.
Cool. Did it finish, or is it still thinking right now?
Still working. Still iterating on these files.
I'm wondering if he meant like multiple code reviews at the same time. Duvang, feel free to clarify if that's what you meant. Here's one other question that came up. Is there any plans for memory features regarding context session to session rules files? Yeah,
we're actually experimenting with a feature where it's able to sort of do something like ChatGPT memory and remember things that it has learned about you, and it's able to write those somewhere and then pull those into context in future chat sessions.
Okay.
And I believe there's a setting to enable that. Okay, I'm hoping that it's going to work through these last import issues, and we can have something to that can run. if it doesn't stop in a second, I'll start it and see if it is in a state that can run well enough.
Sure. And then we could like move on. But in the meanwhile, Enrique asks, is it still in beta or is it out yet?
It's I would call it experimental. So it's only in VS Code Insiders. We're looking at getting it into a state that's stable enough that we can start enabling it in VS Code Stable as well, but you'll just have to use Insiders right now. And there's a setting which shows this agent dropdown, which is enabled in Insiders, by default, but then you'll have to set the dropdown from edit to agent mode in order to use it. Okay, I'm going to cut it off there, and if these errors are just cosmetic, then maybe it'll run anyway. So I'm going to show you that we can.
So apparently he was referring to, he said code review for multiple files together using agent. I think that's what he meant.
Okay, unfortunately, I think we've still got some more important errors. So sorry, I don't want to keep everyone waiting for too long.
Right.
A lot of exciting things to see today, but
yeah, no, but this was a cool peek so far into edit. These are the joys of live stream. But thanks so much, Rob. This was cool. Any last words before we bring up our next presenter?
No, just yeah, please try it out. File issues if you have any requests or come across any problems. And yeah, thanks for checking it out.
Perfect. Thanks so much. All right, folks. So up next we have Martin, who's going to be showing us another feature of Copilot. So Martin, are you ready?
Yes.
Now, I specifically didn't mention your last name. I don't want to butcher it up. How do you pronounce your last name?
Aeschlimann.
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 Okay. Cool. All right. So let's just jump right in, Martin.
Yep.
What you got for us?
This is actually a small improvement to something we had for a long time. It's about applying code blocks when you are in chat. So I'm here in the chat window again. So not edits and not agent mode. Good old stuff. And I just do some question here to the language model. Can you move the selected functions into the new file? And
now,
to be honest,
before you move forward, so I want to make sure, like in case some folks are like looking through the release notes also, do I have it correct? Because I had in my notes it was unified apply in editor experience. Is that what we're going to be going
I don't know
with?
how the unified got in there, but basically the feature is called apply in editor. It's this it's this command, and it's just an improvement to that one.
Cool. Apply in editor. That's what that's the context of what we're chatting about. All right, continue, please.
Yeah. So actually, this is this button that has been here for a long time, and you can already see what's the first improvement here is that the button now tells you where this change is going to. Here he said, well, I'm going to create a new file. He made up a new nice name for it, and then he also wants to make changes to the old file. So yeah, so as I hover over the button now, he tells me where the LLM would put this file. And maybe this is not the best name you like, but you can click on it and you will be asked again, really use this file name, or just put it into a new untitled editor, or place it in the current active editor, well, which is probably not the best. It was just where it's coming from, but yeah, these are the choices you can now do. And I apply it, and I get this code block in the new file. Let me scroll down, and now here is the change it wants to do to the old file. And again, it tells me where this change is going to happen in downloads, and I can click in it, and it will be revealed, and apply will be working. And you can already see now it's applying the change in the same style like we do it in edits. You get the same controls. You can accept this or discard. You can see that it wants to remove these two functions, and this is probably all good. So I can accept down there with one single click, and it's happening. So that's so what's been new is this hover, which tells you where. Well, first there's more smartness on how it tries to find the file where to put the change. The new hover that tells you where, And then this new apply experience there, where you can see the same way that you have it in edits, how the changes are applied.
So before we didn't have that experience with hovering.
Yeah, before it was a bit surprised what it would do. It would maybe put it to the right file, maybe put it to the active editor.
And some people apparently didn't like surprises.
It was a bit frustrating, and a lot of issues came in for that. And then we also had a different experience here on that you can see the preview. It was a different UI experience, and now we have, that's maybe where the unified comes from. Now we have the same preview apply experience in all our features.
Nice. All right. Let's see here. I think there's one question that came up here. We're building Copilot chat participant with prompt TSX, vscode chat extensions using custom tools. Will agent support custom chat participants? That's really for our last guess. If Rob's still around, maybe he could respond to that. But I don't think we have any other questions related to this features. Any other thing you want to mention about this, or is that pretty much it for this?
That was it, actually.
All right, excellent. Nice and short and sweet. Well, thanks so much, Martin. This was great, and we will be moving on to the next feature now. All right. So up now is Rieken. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
The last name?
Kind of. It's so the full German Swiss pronunciation would be Johannes Rieken, but Joe is enough. So we don't have to spend too much time. So I can go back to my Frogger game where I'm hitting high score.
Perfect.
Yeah. Since it's I'm a kid of the 80s, and this is a game that I think used to be on our first computer in the household. And I think it took 2 or 3 prompts to get this game going.
Wow. I remember
so you
this
see,
game.
I have an index HTML and a game. I didn't write a single line of code, and I used the live preview extension to basically show it.
Now, Frogger, so those are the cars. For those of you that don't know, those are cars on a street, and the frog needs to go across the street without getting smashed. So within 2 or 3 prompts, you were able to have a basic first draft of this game. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I basically said hey, I'm a kid from the 80s. I remember this game where frog has to cross the street, and then boom, there we had it, right? And then now we can kind of refine it. And because what I do want to show is if you still write your prompts by hand, if you want to review the code, what are the best utils in the editor? We've all seen it already a little bit, but I just want to deep dive a little bit on these editor controls and the review mode. So let me put this to the side so we can see source code and the game. And you already notice now there's an issue that I don't see the score. Some of the scores rendered in here. And so I will now ask it, please render the score with the heading not in the game canvas.
So for those of you following along in the release notes, what we're reviewing is editor controls, and also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, auto accept Copilot edits and keep/undo. I think keep/undo is the new term that you're using for the feature. Is that correct?
Yeah, this will be my segue from code stable that I'm using here to insiders. So basically what you already see is, so it went through, it explained what it's doing. It has changed the index HTML page and the game.js page, as we can see here in the kind of working set/review list. And now what I'm seeing here, it is already happening, right? So you can see that the score is in the header. It's not in the game canvas anymore. It used to be here, and it might still work. So let's play around. Boom, 100 points. I'm a winner. And now basically what this UI allows you to see, it allows you to look at each and every change it made. So you can see here the update score was added, and individually I can accept it and discard it. in here, there's no just calling this function, and there's apparently every time I am done, I check for the collision. So I can do this inside the editor where I see the changes. I can accept all changes for this file, then everything in game.js will be accepted. And I can use these arrow keys to navigate from change to change. And you see it also rolled over from the game file into the index.html file, because in here is also changed. So let me accept it. Now everything is done here. I only have 4 changes pending. And now I can keep going. And now you already see with the kind of, while I'm explaining this, and what you see, this is already live. So we figured that accept discard is maybe not the right term, because these changes are already in your document. I am using autosave. So everything that I'm asking the AI to do is already saved. And this accept is more or less, I'm fine with it. So therefore, in vscode Insiders, which we cannot promote often enough, so this is the thing that we develop, that we live in, we renamed these things to be keep and undo. So so this is the same project, just in Insiders. So you see it's in here. Now, if I go in here and say, make the cars look more real, but keep the 80s vibes.
Could you command plus a little just to make it a little bit more visible?
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks.
So now you see it's working. It's working on the game JS
Wow, that's
file.
so cool.
It's generating edits. One change also in Insiders, while it's doing it, we were not saving, and now we're done generating, and only then we save. This is easier so that we don't like snapshot or save in between an invalid change. So you see these cars look very, very cool.
Yeah.
And now you can see that, so there's the new rendering. Apparently there's windows, wheels, a body, and head and taillights. And now I can just say, okay, I like this and I want to keep these changes. Now, if I feel even more adventurous, I can go into the settings UI and say auto accept. We still need to rename the setting, but I can say, I trust the AI, and let's say after 8 seconds, I automatically wanted to keep my changes that I'm asking it to do. So let's say, make the cars move a little slower in the start.
So Joe, so let's say like a developer's like falling in love with all these features and how the agent is working, but they need to like document like all these changes that they're making to some of their content. Like what would you suggest is like the best way? Because a lot of changes are going to be made. They might be liking it, but like, let's say they need to like roll back. Like what would you say is like the most efficient way to keep track of that?
Yeah, it's actually a good question. So you can, so you have your prompts that you do, and if you don't like something, so it's now if I don't like the speed now, I can always do undo in here as well, right? So what happens here, you see, I ask it to make the cars move a little slower, and now if I press undo, the changes are gone, they move fast again, and this request has popped, but I'm still back on my previous state, so I have not lost everything, right? I'm sure if that answered your question, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that does in one way. I was thinking in terms of like, should they be like every just 5 minutes just committing, you know, or is there like a way that Copilot itself could just provide like a preview of like, these are the last major changes that you've done, like a summary view, you know, and then they could just go back and decide if they need to revert something or not.
Yeah, that would be, I think in agent mode, that's something we are thinking of, to also give the agent the ability to undo something. When to make a commit and what message to put in the commit, like who's offering this, there's actually a fair question that we don't have, like, it's a question that we're thinking about, because like if you just write prompts, like who gets the git commit? Is it Copilot or is it your commit, right?
Right.
So maybe it's like a co-authored by scenario, or like I want to preserve my prompts here. So yeah, this is something we're thinking of. We're also happy to hear whatever people's ideas and thoughts are.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like in the scenario, like here, like I don't write code, I just write prompts, right? So it almost feels like I want a source mapping from prompt to code. Yeah.
Got it. One quick question here. Is there a repository community where we can share various use cases to explore and learn how others are using Copilot in different ways?
It's actually a good question. It's maybe more for the for you folks, Reynald, huh?
Yeah, I would think that would be something that we could like explore, because there's like a lot going on. So in addition to just like the content that we share on our channel and on our social media, I don't know. I think, you know what? I would say that that's actually good feedback to give to us, so that we could like consider something like that.
Yeah, I think it would
Copilot
be quite
can
cool.
do that.
Learn from Copilot can do that. Learn from the community, and yeah, quite like this.
Cool. So Copilot can do that as a place where it shows like a bunch of like the highlight features of Copilot. So maybe that could be an area if there's like a blog added to it, where that could be a discussion could be started there. All right, cool. Thanks, Berg. Anything else, Joe?
No, real quick, I wanted to show, because the button disappeared. So I'm just asking the same question again, because we are now in this auto accept, auto keep mode. And what you see now, it is making edits. It's going along, and now you see there's a keep button which animates, and when it's done, it has automatically accepted. So you see there's no more highlighting of this was the change, and now you can enjoy slower cars. And if you press the review button, you're back into the normal flow. Make them a little faster again. So let's going.
In the meanwhile, Ryan asked something regarding the performance of Copilot, how it uses a lot of resources. And Ryan, I don't know if you'd noticed, but Bert responded asking a question: is this when the changes are being applied? I don't know if you have any comments on that, Joe.
You mean the performance of when it actually makes the change? Yeah, we work on this. I think that's what I can say. We are aware that it's not always at the speed that we want this to be, and this will change significantly in the future.
Very cool. So what are we waiting on right now?
No, now it happened. So sorry, while you were talking, I did press review, and now you're on the normal keep and undo flow. You do have the ability to trigger the diff editor if you want to investigate a more complicated change with the side-by-side, or like, you see the before and after view.
Nice, okay.
Or you just go to the inline views of it, and then you say that you want to keep it.
Or undo.
And I think that's it. And now I'm going back to play my game here.
That's great. So you don't have to keep going back and forth on different tabs. You could just see them side by side.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh no, lost.
Oh, okay. So is that about it for this feature? Any final words, or?
That's about it. I
Okay.
hope folks enjoy it and get using it, and let the feedback come.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Joe, for helping us go down memory lane with Frogger. Maybe next time it'll be Pac-Man. We could do our demos on the new features. All right. Have a great day. All right. So up next, folks, is Henning. Henning, are you ready?
Hi, Reynald. Yes, I'm ready as I can be.
Nice.
So,
what you got for us, Henning?
So first, cool demos, Joe. I love Copilot edits. And actually yesterday I created a fun after-work project. And it's crazy how addictive it is to create stuff with AI nowadays. Basically, you don't have to code anymore at all. But the feature that I want to show you now is very close to code.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably all know the Copilot Ghost text, which completes the source code at the cursor position. So basically you type something, and then there is this gray text coming, which tries to predict what you want to type next. And we wanted to move this feature to the next level. So what if the AI suggestions are not just about insertions, but about edits? And I have an example here. So this is actually from the vscode code base. So this is a real world example even. So I have a point which has x, y coordinates. And now let's imagine I want to have 3D visualization of something, not just 2D, but 3D. So I start this by renaming the class to point3D. And now this next edit suggestion, that's how we call this feature, kicks in, and it tries to predict what I'm going to do the next, which doesn't have to be at my cursor location. It can also be, so here it's an insert, but it can also be an edit. So now I can just press tab to jump to the next suggestion, and another tab to accept this suggestion. And you can see, as I accepted that suggestion, it now already predicts what my next edit is going to be. And this time it's a real edit, not just an insertion. So here it wants to also apply the rename from point to point3D. And also, when you add 2 points, you need now to consider the Z coordinate that was just added. So I can again press tab to jump there and another tab to accept it. And now it goes on. So here it has to consider the Z coordinate. And you can see, basically, I don't have to do much. I just go through the code and press tab, but I'm still very close to the code. So it's it tries to assist you while you change your code. So you don't have to think of prompts or anything. But basically, you don't have to think about this feature at all. You just turn it on. It's still off by default. But once you turn it on, you just change the code as you used to do it, and then it comes up with these suggestions, which you can then accept.
So the official title of this feature, is it next edits period, or just like next edit suggestions as it is in the release notes?
Yes, we call it next edit suggestions, or nests in short.
Okay.
Yes. Right. So I have one other example, which I find even more impressive. So, for example, these are commands. For example, show next inline suggestion or show previous inline suggestion. And you can see I hard-coded the English string of it, the label. But that's not good, because we want to localize vscode. So, for example, if you use vscode in Germany, you want to have it in German. But that doesn't work with a static string. So what I do when I introduce these labels, I have to make them localizable. And we have a class, or we have a function for this. It's localized to, and I have to come up with a key. And here, let's say, inline suggest dot action, and here the command is show next inline suggestion. So maybe show next is a good name for the ID of this thing. You already saw there were some suggestions of what I wanted to of how I could name this key. Mm-hmm. But here I just wanted to ignore them. I didn't pay much attention. But now the issue is I have much more of these labels. So now I put my cursor here to indicate that this is an area where I probably want to do something. And now it should, in theory, sometimes I have to nudge it. I have to help it a little bit. Now you see it comes up with the suggestion where it follows the same key structure that I used above. So I can press tab to accept it, and you can see here I came up with inline suggest .action.show next, because the action was called show next inline suggestion. And down here, it followed the same and inferred show previous from show previous inline suggestion. So this is, you can't do this with multi-cursor or with search and replace that easily, because it's a semantic step from this free text to this key. And now I can put my cursor here, hope that it picks it up. So it's AI, so it's unpredictable in its nature. So sometimes it picks up things, sometimes you have to nudge it.
Okay.
But you can see here.
And how did you just nudge it right now?
So I just did an edit to indicate that I want to change something here. Sometimes it's enough to just put the cursor, and sometimes it even knows where the next cursor location is going to be.
Okay.
But that's the idea of this feature anyway, that you just code and it helps you while you code. So it's not like the Copilot edits where you're almost in a different mode and you now talk directly to the AI, but here you just code, and this feature is in the background, and it tries to help you while you do your thing.
Now, as someone's getting more comfortable with using this, like let's say that they had some feedback. I know like with Copilot, there is like a way you could like give certain thumbs up or thumbs down, but if they wanted to give specific feedback for next edit suggestions, is there a way to do that, or they just go the general route for just any general Copilot feedback?
Yes, currently it's just general feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else regarding next edits, or is that the core, the meat of it?
You saw the feature. It's mostly this presentation of the edits, and there are various kinds of how these presentations look like. There's also this menu that you can interact with to look up the key bindings or to configure the feature. But the UI is relatively small, but you can do it, or you can apply it in many cases. So because it's general purpose AI, it knows tons of refactorings. So I mean, previously we had to code all these specific refactorings like inline const or extract function or all these things. But because it's AI, it recognizes many of these patterns, and it just suggests what you want to do next.
Perfect.
So it's a small feature UI-wise, but I think it's a very deep feature because it's hooked up to AI.
And the feature still comes with like the free version of Copilot, right?
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. Well, that's awesome. Unless you have any other final words, Henning, I guess we'll move on to the next feature.
If you want to try it out, I encourage you to use vscode Insiders, because it already contains a lot of bug fixes that we did.
Nice. All right. Another shout out to Insiders First. If you want to be in that club, it's a nice big club, and you're all welcome to join it. Thanks, Henning.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. So we have one more presenter that's going to talk about a couple of features. So let's bring up Joyce now.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Hi, Joyce. Joyce, so your last name is Okay. All right. Did you ever have anyone like accidentally just actually say ER by accident?
No.
Okay. People butcher up my name, so I don't know like how crazy.
Yeah, last names are hard.
Yeah. Okay. So what have you got for us, Joyce?
Yeah, so today I wanted to show how we're bringing some of the agentic goodness that Rob talked about earlier today to code-based context. And so here I'm in chat. I'm actually in the extension development host because some of what I'm going to show you hasn't even landed in Insiders yet. It will be checked in probably later today. But one of the things that we're working on is you might already know that you can attach code-based context to any chat query that you submit. And one of the things that we've been working on is improving this experience to more closely match what users expect. So in current stable, hash code base is pretty much doing semantic search. So given your query, we're going to compute some embeddings for it. We're going to do keyword based searches. And that's ultimately going to pull together a list of chunks from the repository that we think are most relevant to your query. But this isn't always what you want when you pull in code base context. And I've got a query, for example, where I want to figure out all the packages that are being used in the vscode repo, which is what I have open, and that are published by the @vscode publisher, because we work on many of the packages that we use. And so I can go into chat now and I can say, show me all the packages published by @vscode in this repository. And I am going to attach a code base context here. And you can see here that we actually did now a text search rather than doing a semantic search. And this actually gave us 60 results. And in just a moment here, we'll be able to get an answer from the language model summarizing everything that it saw. And you can see here that there's a large number of hits there. And ultimately, this is enabled using the code search, this code search setting that I've got in the settings UI here. That's taking a little longer than expected. So let me see if I can't start that over.
While you're looking, a question popped up. Will using @workspace and hashtag codebase result in pretty much the same thing when it comes to adding context?
That's eventually the goal, but for now, @workspace is still going to be using that semantic search-based strategy. So, okay, I reran that query here, and now you can see it actually found a few more results than before. Maybe it used a different query this time. And it's gone ahead and started listing all of the packages that it found from my repo, and this is just using text search. So this is much closer to what I want. And if I were to use semantic search today, I would get probably an incomplete view of the matches that were available in my repo. And just to give an idea of what's going on under the hood here, so hash code base is now essentially doing a tool calling loop. And it has access to semantic search, but it also has access to grep search, file search, reading your project structure, reading directories, reading individual files. And also that brings me to my next demo, which is that we have now added the ability for chat to reference your Git changes. And so that's one of the tools that is going to be part of this new agentic code base experience. So here in the source control view, you can see that I've got some changes going on in this file.
Joyce, quick question. President, not sure one asks, what's the difference between @workspace and hashtag codebase?
So previously those have been the same thing. And what we're doing now is starting to move hashtag codebase as well as eventually @workspace in the direction of always using that full code base context with multiple tools.
Okay. And
so there will be a brief period of time where there might be a divergence in behavior, but eventually the goal is to have them behave pretty much the same.
And also the next question is, what is semantic, quote unquote, search? Like, what did you mean by that? When is what he'd like some clarification on?
Yeah, so the way that semantic search works for us today is essentially you type in a natural language query, and we try to retrieve fragments of the code base that we think are roughly similar to the query, like potentially relevant. So in practice, this looks like embeddings-based retrieval augmented generation, where we are taking your query and we're maybe massaging it a little, we're generating synonyms, and then we're ultimately doing an embeddings-based search against a pre-computed index of your repository in order to retrieve the chunks from that repository that we think are the most relevant to what you're asking about right now. We have a whole blog post on this, and so I highly encourage you to go read up on that if you're interested in more details.
Cool. Marty jumped in and asked, can't we just add files into context?
You can also add individual files and context, but one of the reasons why we're working on enhancing the hash code base experience is we hear feedback from people who are using Copilot edits, for example, that it's very frustrating to have to manually tell the AI what to do. And so, while agent mode, as Rob showed earlier, is where we'd like to, eventually have the chat experience be, in the meantime, we do have this Copilot edit experience, and now you can use hash code base in there to specify a query, a task that needs to be done without manually adding every single file to modify. So that's an alternative mode that is now available with this agentic code base, and I encourage you to try it out.
Cool. Questions are like piling in. I think they want you to just do Q&A session here. Juan jumped in and asks, is Copilot agent with hash code base able to develop feature based on pre-existing code architecture following existing style code?
Yes, absolutely. And we do also have custom instructions which allow you to further provide chat and edits with information about your code base. And so if you have some particular coding convention that you like to use, like naming conventions, for example, for classes or functions, you can absolutely use that as well to instruct it. And it should also infer from your existing code how it should proceed with future edits.
Perfect. All right. Let's continue.
Sweet. So the next thing that I just want to show here is that chat and edits now have access to your Git state. This wasn't previously exposed, and so you can see here I have some changes in my source control view, and I can go into chat now and I can ask, summarize my changes, and you can see I have this variable here, and when I go ahead and submit that, it's going to read the changed files in my workspace and answer with reference to that. And behind the scenes, this is pretty much a tool as well that is exposed to hash code base and also to agent mode. And so what this just means is that we're moving chat and edits in the direction of also being able to understand your source control state, in addition to also understanding the files that are in your repository. Those are pretty much the highlights that I want to show here.
Okay. Well, cool. Let's see here. I think Ryan just jumped in here with a couple last minute questions here. Why does Copilot have to gather your workspace details every time you reference it? Why doesn't it just not keep knowledge of the previous gathering and only pull in changes made?
I'm not totally sure I understand the question. We do, for each of your prompts, have to figure out whether there's new context that's relevant. But behind the scenes, we are typically searching an existing index. So it's not recomputing the index of your repository from scratch, if that makes sense.
Okay. Another question here by Software Dev. Is the .env file ignored when indexing the code base?
Yes, and we have a notion of Copilot ignored files. I believe this can be configured per repository as well.
Cool. And let's see here. Where do I specify the rules to follow?
We have, again, I think a bunch of documentation about custom instructions on the code.visualstudio.com website. So I'd encourage you to check that out.
Okay. Well, I think that's really about it for like the main question here. Thanks so much. People loved asking you questions.
Thanks. I love providing answers.
All right. Thanks, Joyce.
Thank you.
All right. What do you guys think? Feel free to leave some comments on any other future things you'd like to see in our live streams, or any other questions that popped up in your head a little bit late. Maybe we could still get like some answers in there. But this was cool. I want to go ahead and just say a big thank you to all our contributors. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and put in the link, put in our chat here, our release notes that I've been referencing. Oh, okay. Now it's in there a couple of times. So please go ahead and check that out. I tried to make like an effort to like mention like the feature names that we're going through. I think next time I'm going to like show the release notes first, and then you're gonna see like the features that they're showing, like line by line, like which one of these that they're covering, so you could reference it. You know what I mean? So I do want to thank all the contributors on the release notes. I should probably share my screen. Producer, if you could put that up, maybe they could just see and like scroll through. A big thank you for all of them that put everything together. And that is really about it. I will see you in the next one, which will be a month from now. All right, for Copilot future features that are being released. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.